Here we go. As we get closer to the NBA trade deadline, more information is being reported, and an NBA insider may have leaked what the Heat are willing to and have offered Memphis in a potential Ja Morant trade. And I'm going to put on a quick spoiler warning for the Heat fans. The offer from Miami's end is embarrassing. And it really gives the Heat no chance to bring Ja to Miami. And I'm not even saying it's something I want desperately. I've been very open about it. I would take Morant on a certain price point, but I'm not offering the house or draft capital that would jeopardize future flexibility for Ja Morant. But even with that being said, I find the Heat's offer to Memphis potentially, if it's true, incredibly embarrassing for both the Heat and for the Grizzlies if they were to accept it. Before we showcase what it actually is, let's get the most likes on a video this week. On Monday, we got 70 likes. That's not very good. On Tuesday, a little bit better, 118. Let's get to 200 on today's show. Help me out by hitting that thumbs up button. Now, the report comes in from Matt Moore. You might know him as HP Basketball on Twitter. He also has been someone to appear on 5 Reasons Sports Network in the past. He said that Miami may take a step back at the deadline to get more assets for Giannis this summer, or do they try to convert talent to get better now? The Ja Morant stuff has cooled a little bit, but maybe that gets revisited. They will not include anything they need for a Giannis deal. They're going to try and basically get Ja Morant for Rozier's expiring and filler. That doesn't surprise me. We know what Miami wants to do before this trade deadline. They want to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo if he requests out of Milwaukee. Will he do that? I don't know. I probably say no because, well, we've just seen Giannis doesn't have the cojones to actually request a trade out of Milwaukee. But for the Heat to seriously believe that this is the offer they can get Ja Morant for, that's a joke. Like, I'm sorry. We know you want to get rid of Rozier's expiring. It's not that valuable. And if Heat fans believe you can get Ja for 2 expiring contracts that amount to $35 million, that just ain't going to happen. Like, it's a joke. And I know Ja's stock is low. It is. There is no point in Ja Morant's career that his trade value has ever been more low than it is right now. But there is a 0% chance that the Memphis Grizzlies would ever accept that type of deal. Like, if you want to get Ja, I don't think you have to add that much to the offer to maybe entice Memphis if they truly want to move on. But you got to at least offer one young guy. Like, they're not going to take just veterans for Morant. They'd want to build a nice little young nucleus. And maybe that's one of your young guys. Now, who that is, I don't know. But you're going to have to do that. I understand that there's a lot of people out there that are going to be like, no one wants to trade for Ja. I get it. Brian Windhorst kind of confirmed that on a podcast Wednesday morning, that he's even having difficulty finding people who can find a team that is interested in a Ja Morant trade. Like, everybody's interested for Ja at a very cheap bargain, but in terms of actually working with Memphis to get a trade and kind of working back and forth to see and meet in the middle, no one's going to do it. Like, I do believe this all ends with Ja Morant staying in Memphis. I mean, we've seen some reports out in the last 48, 72 hours that Morant told the Memphis Grizzlies he does not want to be traded, which is the complete opposite of what you normally see in these type of situations. Who knows if that is true or not? All I can say is if teams are similar in Miami's line of thinking of what they're willing to offer for Ja Morant, there is no way, even if the Grizzlies want to move on and wipe their hands clean, that they take a deal that poorly. But predict it for me. Will Ja Morant be traded before the deadline in 2 weeks? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let's go back to the Heat's offer here, because I'm not even advocating for him to be in Miami. I'm not saying the Heat need to go out there and trade first-round draft picks or high-priority young guys to get him. But not offering a young guy at all is crazy. Like I said, I'm not offering any draft capital. I'm just making a very simple addition to my offer. And I have no clue if the Grizzlies would be intrigued with this type of deal. But for the Heat to not offer Nikola Jovic or Kasparas Giannis feels nuts to me. And I love Giannis. Everyone knows that. But the truth is, if you acquire Ja Morant, he is your starting point guard with Davion Mitchell coming off the bench. So where are you going to play Giannis, and where is he going to be able to find time to develop in your system? The answer is there really isn't any time. So if you are trading for Ja Morant, you should probably include him. Does that get you to the price point to get a deal done with the Grizzlies? I don't know. But you at least have to offer him. But you could also offer Nikola Jovic, who, by the way, I don't even know if he would want, or if he is a player that Memphis would want, because he's been horrible. I mean, horrible. Every time we see him step onto the basketball court, it feels like over the last couple of weeks here to the past month, it feels like he's the worst player on the floor. I mean, you look back at that game against Sacramento on Tuesday night, he get a nice bounce back win. I would say every single player played well for the Heat, right? Jaquez was good off the bench. Fontecchio was awesome. Giannis gave you good minutes. Larson, Bam, Wiggins, Powell, Davion, all great. Myron Gardner was even good off the bench. The one person who was holding Miami back in the Heat were noticeably worse with him on the floor, Nikola Jovic. I can't believe I'm saying this because he's still super young in his early 20s with a lot of basketball ahead of him in his career. Miami just gave him that 4-year, $64 million extension in September, but I don't know if he can get out of this. It's half mental. It's half an inability to finish through contact, which he's been in the league. This is his 4th year. At one point, you just have to say, oh, he's not going to improve anymore. This is who he is. It's year 4. He's not improving. It's sad to see because I really liked him, and I was part of the leader of Jovic FC. More coming, but today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here in football, and as we wind down to no more football, make sure you get in on the action with the last chance if you want to play daily fantasy with football. Close the season right with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Injury reboots is something I really like from Prize Picks. If your player gets hurt in the first half and doesn't play in the second half, he will not count as a loss. It will just be removed from your lineup. They also allow you to do stacks, meaning you could put the same player in your lineup up to 3 times, which is a lot of fun. My entry for this upcoming weekend, more than Drake May passing yards, more than Matthew Stafford interceptions, and less on Rashid Shaheed receiving yards. I feel pretty good about this entry. I got my 3-player entry for the Kings and Heat game on Tuesday night, correct? I'm looking to stay hot, baby. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. I will say this again. I don't know if the Grizzlies would want Nikola Jovic, but I'll tell you one thing. He is not a needle mover in a potential Giannis trade. I can say that with 1,000% confidence. So if I can sit up here and say, and probably most of you will say it as well, if Nico doesn't impact your ability to acquire Giannis if he asks out in a week or in 4 months, why wouldn't you at least put him on the table for Ja Morant if the capability of acquiring him for expirings in Fontecchio and Morant is there if you just put Jovic on the table? If you look at what a Giannis trade would look like from Miami's end, this is what it would be, whether it's now or in the offseason. You're offering a couple of young guys, Jaquez, 6th Man of the Year candidate, Ware, 21 years old, a lot of promise there in his second year, Tyler Hero, still in his mid-20s, from Milwaukee, Andrew Wiggins, his salary, but also a player that Milwaukee could flip in a separate deal potentially to get another draft pick, and then 2 unprotected first-round picks and pick swaps as well. That's what a trade, in all likelihood, looks like if the Heat get one done for Giannis. I don't know if the Milwaukee Bucks would do this, but this is what the Heat's best package would be for Giannis. So to me, Jovic doesn't mean anything here. But if you do actually go back as well to the Giannis discussion and go back to what Matt said earlier in the show about how you don't know if the Heat are going to wait for Giannis, if they're going to take a step back at the deadline, trade people away, and get more assets to potentially take a run at Giannis in the summer, which if you believe they might do that, Miami needs to start being proactive over the next 2 weeks in acquiring more capital in the draft, acquiring more young assets in general to potentially send to Milwaukee to get Giannis in June or July. And we'll have more here, but stay locked in for the latest trade rumors around the Miami Heat. We got 2 weeks until the deadline, February 5th. Subscribe today and lock us in. I've said this for a while now. I'm going to continue to say it. Miami needs to trade away Andrew Wiggins and Norman Powell. The Heat are 23 and 21. They are a streaky 500 basketball team. They are. It's simple as that. The only way to get out of this kind of play-in 500 mud they've been in the last 3-4 seasons is to either sell and go into a rebuild and hopefully come out on the other side of it, or go all in and acquire a player that is an all-NBA level guy. But the only way you can do that is by having enough draft capital and young assets to satisfy the price point in a trade for an all-NBA dude. And to me, the only way you can do that is by getting rid of some of your veterans. And to me, it's also not something you need to say is like, oh, Miami should trade these guys because they're not playing well. No, Norman Powell should be an all-star this season. And Andrew Wiggins has been really good for Miami defensively. And he's had a real almost career year in terms of offensive efficiency. He scored more per night in the past. He's the 20-point per game scorer in his career before. But when you talk about impact and efficiency, this might be one of Wiggins' best seasons of his career. Like, you'll be able to get assets for both, whether it is a first-round pick or young players. Like, Powell, although he's an expiring, you can trade him at the deadline to a veteran, savvy team that needs a score for a first-round pick. Think what the Heat had to give up to get Terry Rozier. Although Rozier had a couple years left on his deal, still, the Heat gave a first-round pick. I think you'd be able to get one for Norman Powell. I look at a team like Houston that might need more scoring in that backcourt, a veteran presence as well. That is an interesting idea for Norman Powell. We know the one between Wiggins and Los Angeles. I think as the days go on, I think the Lakers are going to make another aggressive run at Andrew Wiggins. Heck, maybe even the Golden State Warriors do with Jimmy Butler out for the remainder of the year. The point I'm trying to make here is if you play your cards right, you could be sitting here with potentially 4 tradable first-round picks if you deal these 2 away, which would then make yourself have the ability to have 5 tradable first-round picks in the offseason. So now you're talking 5 first-round picks, Ware, Jaquez, and salary for Giannis. That's a good offer now. A real good offer that can compete with the OKCs, the Spurs potentially. Not in terms of young assets, but draft capital. So pick one to trade. If you could only deal one away, who would it be? Type AW for Andrew Wiggins or NP for Norman Powell. I probably lean Andrew Wiggins if I'm going to be honest, because I think you'd get more from him in a trade. I think you could get expirings, you can get a first-round pick, and you can get a young player as well. I look at that potential Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, first-round pick package from the Lakers, and I'm really enticed with that deal. I think Miami should absolutely explore that. But, hey, I'm not going to be negative Nick, but I'm also going to be negative Nick. Miami probably does nothing. Seriously. Do we really expect them to be proactive and get a trade done? I don't. We're probably sitting here in 3 weeks from now and being like, well, Pat Riley never woke up from his nap. He didn't do a thing. It's unfortunate. That's probably where we are.